Kentucky and Louisville renew the Governor's Cup rivalry at Cardinal Stadium Saturday night at 7 o'clock. UK is feeling a little bit better than it was after back-to-back losses to Georgia and Tennessee, with a lot on the line in both of those games. But the Cats came back, took care of business against Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, Josh Allen getting the single season and all-time sack record on his senior day. Also, the offense putting up 34 points. Well, 27 with the pick six from
That's right.
from Mike Edwards. UK got to 8 wins through 11 games. First time that's happened since 1984. Only the fourth time in the last 57 years. Win one more, and it'll be the most regular season wins for Kentucky since 1977. Additionally, the Citrus Bowl likely in the Wildcats' future should they beat the Cardinals. So there's a little bit of momentum and something to play for heading into this ballgame.
It's a little bit different for Louisville. Head coach Bobby Petrino fired before season's end. The Cards never settled on a quarterback. They've only rushed for about 134 yards a game. That defense has allowed 50 points or more 6 times this season. U of L has not won a game since barely beating Western Kentucky 20-17 back on September 15th. So the Cards come into this Governor's Cup game on an 8-game losing streak and a coaching search.
Well, I think apathy is the right word because they fired the head coach. There seemed to be so much joy around the players, and they were going to rally around this team now. And then they come out, and the stadium's not half full against the first game that they played with a new interim head coach. So I think it's been a lost season for a while, and this is kind of the cherry on top of a lost season.
I would have thought Saturday's game was maybe the one moment where you said, okay, they fired Petrino, maybe they come out with a new fire, they look better. And they did for a quarter or so, but the end of that game looked like every one of the ones before it. So they just have not shown anything to date that suggests they should hang in this game.
But after that last game against NC State and another blowout loss, there were players sniping at each other on the field. So it's been lost for a while. Yeah, I mean, it was what we saw a lot of the same thing, even with a different coach, and I think that's just what this team is this year.
Yeah, regardless of the season Louisville's had, if you've followed Kentucky football, you know anything is possible. Perfect example was just a couple weeks ago, UK had a golden opportunity against a Tennessee team that was not playing good football, and the Cats just didn't show up.
No, they didn't. And then to see the Volunteers lose the next week, 50-17 to a Missouri team UK beat on the road. So, of course, the potential is there for UK to not be itself Saturday at Cardinal Stadium, but maybe the loss to UT, maybe, was a lesson to be applied this week.
A lot of UK fans are scared of this game a little bit, and I think the Tennessee game is part of that. I think one of the differences is, though, I think coming off that Georgia game, I mean, Tennessee was just the definition of a trap game. I don't think this game is quite the same level of trap in terms of Kentucky's emotions. And I also think the fact that it did happen to them at Tennessee makes it less likely that it happens at Louisville.
I think it has to have, because they know what an emotional hangover feels like and what can happen. And I talked to one of the players this past week. He said, I thought we were ready, but obviously we weren't. So now they know what that process is like. And I think there was a little bit of going down to Knoxville, throwing their helmets on the field, and thinking that was going to be enough. And now they know that doesn't work.
So what happens? I think what we just heard there is what you have to expect, that this team full of veterans learned its lesson against Tennessee.
Well, you'd hope so. Benny Snell, one of those veterans, and let's face it, this is his last game against Louisville. Snell expected to put his name into the NFL draft following the season. The question is, does he leave as UK's all-time leading rusher?
They're going to get a heavy dose of Benny Snell, and it doesn't matter. I mean, look at what happened if you go back and you see what happened with U of L and Georgia Tech. You know, Georgia Tech didn't throw the ball, and they scored 66 points.
I mean, he's known all year, I think, how he was getting close to it. I mean, he rushed for over 200 yards in this game last season, so maybe he can get it done Saturday. But you would think at the very least, if he stays eligible for the entire bowl game this year, that with 2 games he could get it done. But I'm sure that's number 1 on Benny's list right now. He obviously wants to get the win. He obviously wants to go out with 9 or 10 wins as a team. But if he ends the season and goes to the draft without that record, it's going to be a major disappointment for him.
Now, in last year's game against Louisville, Snell ran for 211 yards on 29 carries. He needs 206 more yards to top Sonny Collins, or to tie Sonny Collins for Kentucky's career rushing record. Collins also had 18 100-yard rushing games. Snell has 17.
So now what happened Saturday? Is this a UK party at Cardinal Stadium for a senior class that will be going for a 3rd straight bowl game? Very few feel otherwise, including Las Vegas. UK already a 17-point favorite over the Cardinals.
Well, I think a lot of this game comes down to Kentucky's mentality. I mean, this is a game Kentucky should win. If Kentucky goes and plays its best and Louisville plays its best based on the seasons they've had, Kentucky's going to win the game. The challenge for Kentucky is to go up there and play well and not get caught up, not, number one, not overlook a team with a bad record, albeit a rival. Number two, not get the emotion just get carried away, which has happened a couple of times in this rivalry in the last couple of years.
It is a rivalry, and Kentucky fans know that anything can happen to Kentucky football, so I'm sure that's part of the pessimism here. But on paper, at least, there's nothing that suggests that Louisville should be in this game through 3 quarters.
I just can't see Louisville putting up much of a fight. I think, honestly, when that final buzzer goes off, it's going to be a relief to a lot of the Cardinal players, coaches, and fans.
Kentucky can't lose. I mean, because think about what this season becomes compared to what it is right now. This Kentucky team ended the streak to Florida, won 5 conference games for the first time in 41 seasons, is already at 8 regular season wins for the first time since 1984. That's what this team is now. Lose.
And it definitely becomes something completely different. Yes, those accomplishments would still exist. They cannot be taken away. But the feeling won't be one of celebration for one of the greatest seasons in our lifetime, certainly.
Right. What would be celebrated is the trip to the Citrus Bowl. All signs point to UK going to Orlando for the holidays if it takes care of business Saturday.
And that would be UK's best bowl game since a man named Tim Couch and company went to the Outback Bowl in 1998. And I think the Cats get it done. I think, they're talking about potential Citrus Bowl opponents for UK. I think Kentucky wins 41-17. That's just me.
All right, there you go. I'm with you, and I'm sure this guy agrees. Recent UK commit Wan'Dale Robinson. He's in the studio. He joins us next when the Fox 56 football feast continues.